Thank you for all the energy in the morning, Dr. Bhatia. And this was, I think, the perfect way to start the morning as well. I think a lot of us woke up. And the last video, it was, I don't have words. It was mind-blowing.
Thank you, appreciate it.
So today I'm going to talk about recognition strategies and how the world has changed ever since COVID and how everything's more hybrid and more digital today, and how you can utilize that in your favor to drive better employee engagement, better recognition, and overall, better employee experience in general. So, if you talk about today's new employee checklist, let's go way back to our grandparents' age, right? So, our grandparents used to actually work for security, creating a better, secure future for their future generations. Our parents' generation, they started working more from a stability perspective that, okay, I will have to provide a better lifestyle, a better stability in terms of my next generations. Now, today's generation, they have stability, they have security, they have family money, so why do they work? They don't work for just a paycheck anymore. Today's generation works for a good culture. They work if they want to feel autonomous when they are actually doing any work in their organizations. They work for any sort of growth opportunities. They work for the right tools to help them grow as a better individual. And more importantly, they work for purpose and for recognition. When I say purpose, I mean, why am I in the organization? What is the objective of me being in that company? And when I say recognition, I mean that am I actually being appreciated for all the work I do? Am I being acknowledged for my job? If I would have told my late grandfather today, God bless his soul, that today's generation does not work for a paycheck anymore, he would have flipped out that why do you need recognition? Aren't you getting paid anymore? Isn't that enough? Isn't just salary enough? But unfortunate reality of today is that recognition plays a really, really key role in employees staying or leaving organizations. So how do you build a successful recognition culture? I've split it across 4 areas, and today I'm going to talk throughout the presentation with these 4 areas itself. When you want to build a successful recognition culture, the first thing you need to do is you need to identify what your employees need. Till the time you identify what your employees need, you won't be able to build the right strategy. So today I'm going to talk about how do you identify what employee requirements are. Second, how do you actually execute those requirements? When you've executed those requirements, how do you analyze the results of those recognition programs which you've run to identify whether they're successful or they were not? And lastly, how do you divide responsibilities in terms of driving right recognition among leadership, among management, and the HR and the employees itself? So first, let's talk about identifying employee needs. What does an employee truly want? So today's employees need multiple areas in the organization to actually feel more satisfied in their jobs. I've split it across 6 pointers. The first pointer is morale. Do I really enjoy the work which I do? If I don't enjoy the work which I do, I don't look forward to actually opening my laptop every morning. Going to work is an ancient concept for people today. So if I don't enjoy opening my laptop in the morning and I get up in the morning and I'm like, why am I here? That means my morale is extremely low. When I was working for Microsoft in the US, there was this person in our team. He was like the best developer in our team. And he was there in Microsoft since 10 years. He was there for a long, long time. And he was very happy. He was doing well. He was getting promoted. There was nothing wrong in his job profile. And then one day, randomly, he wakes up, and his wife was the doctor, by the way. He resigns. His wife shuts down her clinic, which is also crazy because as a doctor, shutting down your business is not an easy job. And both of them decided to just fly off to New York and start a restaurant. And I was like, why? Why would you do that? So I actually went over to him and I asked him that question, that what is wrong with you? Your wife has an amazing practice. You have an amazing job. You've been doing well. You're a leader. You have such a large team under you. Why are you leaving? So he told me one point. He said, I don't feel that morale anymore. And I said, how do you define morale? Like, how do you know that this is not what you want to do? And he said, if you wake up in the morning and you don't feel like going to work, either you're in the wrong company or you're in the wrong profile. And I said, how is your friendship between the two? So he said that if you don't feel like going to the company, but you feel like doing your work, that means you're in the wrong company. But if you don't feel like, doing the work itself, you feel like, oh, why am I doing this in my life? That means you're in the wrong profile. So morale has become really, really important for employees today, especially now in his case, he had a job, he had kids to feed, he had a wife whose practice needed to be shut down. It was harder for him. There's nothing stopping millennials today from doing that. So morale plays a really, really important role in employee needs to be part of any organization. Second is recognition. Is my organization fair in recognizing what I have done? Am I getting appreciated enough? Am I getting the right recognition if I do a good job? Nobody wants to just do a job because they're getting paid anymore. So they do want that additional appreciation, that additional pat on the back, which helps them become better satisfied at work. Third is responsibility. Do I feel that I am responsible enough and the job challenges me enough? Or do I feel that if I just get up and resign tomorrow, nothing's going to change in the organization? That's how I realize whether my work matters in the company or it does not, and that really affects my satisfaction in the organization. Fourth is service quality. Now, pride in the workplace and pride in work are two different things. I might hate my workplace. I might love my work. I might hate my work. I might love my workplace. So, you see a lot of these people, including me, like I say things like, I'm ex-Microsoft. Why do I say that? Because I have pride in the fact that I have worked in that organization. It doesn't matter how my experience was. What matters is that I have pride in the fact that I feel that Microsoft is an organization I'm proud of being part of. So that's what pride in the workplace means, and it really impacts how your employees are feeling satisfied at work. Fifth is sense of belongingness. Now, sense of belongingness happens when I feel that one, my work is being valued. Second, I have a community in the organization I'm part of. When I'm part of a community, I feel excited about meeting my colleagues every day. If I'm working from office, I feel excited about having those water cooler chats. If I have a hybrid setup, I actually feel like going to the office once in a while because I get to meet all of these people. That builds a sense of belongingness in the organization. And lastly, self-esteem. Every time I walk in my office, I have conversations with people, right? So there is a thought process in my mind about how people perceive me at work. Now, how others perceive me really impacts how satisfied I am in the organization. It's really weird, but if you think about it, if you walk in the office every morning and you feel people here like me, they're excited about me here, you will want to go there again and again. But if you go in the office and you feel nobody likes me, nobody wants to talk to me, that impacts my self-esteem, and that also impacts how satisfied I feel in my organization. And that's where the community piece again gets pulled in, the recognition piece again gets pulled in, which makes me feel better about myself, boosts my self-esteem, and therefore makes me feel more satisfied in my company. So that's why I've split it across these 6 areas, which are the predicator of overall job satisfaction for any individual in any country throughout the world. How do you execute these opportunities? Now, if you are designing your strategies keeping these 6 employee needs in mind, how do you define the right recognition programs for your company? So I have split recognition in 4 parts. The first is day-to-day, second is formal, third is informal, and the fourth is approval-based. I'm going to talk about each one of these now. So let's first talk about day-to-day recognition. What is day-to-day recognition? Like the name says, it is literally day-to-day. It has nothing to do with your achievements. It has nothing to do with your KRAs or KPIs or how you're performing in your company. Day to day is given because there is a specific day and you're supposed to get an award. So things like you complete 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, so long service or loyalty or LSA or whatever you want to call it. That's one of the day-to-day awards. Birthdays, anniversaries, it could be a personal anniversary, it could be a work anniversary. Even things like activities. So if you're driving different types of activities in the company, you're running some engagement program and you're making people participate in some event and people are winning there. So those are the day-to-day awards which have nothing to do with performance, and the beauty of day-to-day awards is even your lesser performing people, they will be awarded at least once in a year in the organization because it might be their birthday. So nobody's going to come up to you and say, I have never received an award, right? So that really is the impact of a day-to-day award. Formal recognition is more formal in nature, and I've again split it across 3 parts. First is achieving certain specific criteria. I've done a good job, I have participated in some maybe contest like of achieving numbers or something like that, and because of that I'm getting awarded. So maybe you have awards related to getting certain clients or getting client satisfaction surveys, or even things like am I referring a customer or an employee in the organization? Am I getting incentivized for doing well in my numbers? So those are your KRA and KPI based awards. The second is more structured. Now, structured recognition works best for larger organizations where you have 1,000 managers and you don't know how to structure recognition budgets between those managers. So the idea to kind of achieve that recognition is by dividing and conquer. So you create a unified budget for the entire organization, and typically how companies devise budgets is it's usually 1% to 5% of an employee's annual salary. 1% being more for the highest paid people and 5% being more for the lower paid people. Now you split that annual budget across your departments and you split that departmental budget across managers. And every manager gets certain budgets in their kitties and they can then further use it to award to the employees. While it also keeps everything decentralized and gives your managers an opportunity to run the recognition in their own manners, it also centralizes everything. So you are able to track everything, you're able to see the right analytics, you're able to identify what's the utilization by each manager and reduce wastage of budgets as well. The third is significant awards for significant achievements. Now, this typically is, we've all seen those CEO awards or Ace of the Quarter or Star of the Month, Employee of the Month. Those are the ones which are given to very, very few people in the organization, but it's because you've done an extraordinary job at what you do. The next is informal. Informal, again, is more informal in nature. So we talk about peer-to-peer appreciation where there's no monetary aspect associated with it, but people can just appreciate their peers. People can give each other thank you cards, kudos badges, and all of those. What peer-to-peer does is, one, it saves you money. So you don't have to drive more budgets to drive more recognition. But at the same time, you can drive different campaigns where people are saying nice things to each other, and as human beings, we're always very hungry for appreciation. So if somebody is helping me in my project and I tell them a thank you, the next time I go to them for help, the person will be more excited to help me because I've actually acknowledged their help, and that too if I do it on a public forum in front of all my other colleagues, the next time the person is going to be, can I help you? Instead of you going to them for help. So informal recognition really helps in driving the right culture in place where people are able to appreciate each other and there's less backbiting among people and people are more nicer to each other as well. Celebratory informal recognition is also another way you can drive recognition where you celebrate every event. You celebrate birthdays, anniversaries, birth of a child, somebody's getting married. Let's not celebrate divorces, but anything other than that, major life events, you celebrate for employees and you let employees appreciate each other there. Third is socializing the whole thing, and I just spoke about it a minute ago where I said if I recognize somebody in private, that's great, but if I recognize somebody in public, that's amazing. So creating a socialized version of it, where maybe there's a news feed, something like a Facebook, where people are able to see those appreciations, they're able to like, they're able to comment, they're able to share it on social media. It creates an additional factor in people feeling more recognized in the workplace. Third is more approval-based. Now, when we talk about manager-led structured recognition, you're giving the budget to the manager, and you're telling the manager, you do whatever you want to do with it. But in some cases, you might not want to give that level of flexibility. So you can create approval-based matrices. When you create approval-based matrices, what you do there is you create a nominator. A nominator nominates somebody for an award, and then there are separate approvers who approve those awards. This need not be done for your regular spot awards because it's more regular in nature. But for something like significant awards for significant achievements, for example, you could create approval-based matrices where maybe there's a voting going on. Maybe there's a jury who finalizes those awards. And again, that gives a special feeling. A lot of you here are about to receive awards today. Now, knowing that you are just getting an award is very different than knowing that somebody nominated you, there was a jury who selected you, and then you received an award, right? So the way it hits your psychology is very different when you have to work hard for the award. So significant awards can be definitely approval-based, where it really helps in driving engagement. It's also important to not do too many approval flows. We once launched with a client in Egypt, and they started with 13 approval flows. There was one nominator who would nominate an employee, and then approver 1 would approve, and then approver 2 would approve, and then approver 3 will approve, all the way to approver 13. And then the person will receive an award. They went ahead and launched with it against all our wishes. We told them we don't recommend it, and naturally in a month they had to change it because nobody was approving. So it's also important to keep it simple. Keep like max to max 2 or 3 approval flows, not more than that, otherwise you're just going to get lost in approvals. So once you've created your reward strategy, who's going to drive it? Am I going to drive it? No. Are you going to drive it? No. Then who is going to drive it? So first let's talk about the leadership's role in driving recognition. The leaders are not really expected to run everything end to end, but the leaders are expected to motivate the people who are running it end to end. Right? So leaders need to recognize themselves more to actually drive the programs. Everybody follows their leaders. Whatever the leader does, the rest of the company starts doing. So you start wearing ball gowns to work tomorrow, everybody under you will start wearing ball gowns to work tomorrow. So what a leader does really matters in an organization. So culture always starts at the top. So as leaders, it is our responsibility to ensure that we build the right recognition culture in the organization. The more we recognize, the more everybody in the organization will start recognizing. It's also important for leaders to not lump recognition with feedback. So I'll say the other way around. You never criticize when you recognize, but you always recognize when you criticize. So we've all been there where, either us or somebody has done this in front of us, where we say, hey, you did a great job, but. So let's remove that but from there, right? When you're recognizing, just recognize. Don't put that additional but or criticize on top of it. But when you're criticizing, you start with a little bit of recognition so that, the objective is to criticize. The objective is not to recognize. So it's important to not lump criticism with feedback or recognition. It's also important for leaders to make feedback a cultural value in the organization. Put it right in your organizational behavior core values so that more and more people start recognizing it. Plus, link recognition with your core values. So if somebody follows a cultural value, recognize them. Create small-scale awards for those as well. Lastly, don't wait till you start your full-fledged strategy and your full-fledged program is completed. So I've seen companies not start recognition for years because they spent like 2 years in creating their structure. you're going to lose a lot of very important people in those 2 years while you're building your structure. You don't have to spend a lot of budgets. You start with birthdays. You start with non-monetary appreciation. But start somewhere and then keep building on top of it and keep re-evaluating and re-iterating over time. For managers, and it's a well-known fact that people don't leave their companies. They leave their managers. So for managers, it is really important to personalize the recognition. If I give a thank you or a good job to 20 people in my team, and I write the same good job for everyone, doesn't mean anything. I have to make it personalized, put a citation, put a reason as a manager why I am recognizing this person. We did an interesting thing. We experimented by not only adding text citations on our tool, we added audio messages, video messages. Now managers are recording their videos and they're uploading it while recognizing somebody. Imagine how personalized it is. So for a manager, it is really important to personalize the recognition. Last thing which I want to do talk about in terms of the management responsibilities is the bias. Now, it's important for managers to not be biased towards certain people while recognizing, and for certain people, maybe they are getting upset about the fact that we never got recognized even though we did a good job. So there are 3 ways of tackling biases. One is analytics. So you look at the analytics, there are ways in which if you're using a digital tool, you can set up alerts that this person has gotten more than X number of awards within a month, and that raises an alert so that you at least know that there is a bias happening somewhere. Or you can use the nomination approval matrix, which I spoke about earlier, where instead of post-emptively, you are preemptively tackling those biases. And third is, you just automate and block everything. So you kind of fix it on the digitized tool which you're using, that one manager cannot give more than X number of awards in Y number of periods to these many number of people. So you can do that level of restriction as well to tackle the bias in the right manner. Lastly, what is HR's influence on recognition? While of course recognition is everybody's job, how can an HR influence the recognition strategy in the right way? So the first thing which we need to understand is there needs to be a team who is driving culture and recognition in the organization. It shouldn't be that, oh, talent management has an issue, so let's remove some people from our R&R team and move them over there, right? It needs to be a really structured team. If you're moving people, then you also need to add people back in that particular team, because this is the team who's actually driving retention. This is the team who's actually driving reduction of your attrition in the company. So it's really important to have a dedicated team handling culture and handling recognition. Second, as an HR, it's our job to not only get it done ourselves, but also train and retrain and overtrain managers, leaders, employees to start using our programs. And it gets exhausting over time, but it's really, really important to do it eventually. Otherwise, we'll be the ones who'll be scrambling around trying to get recognition moved, but nobody's using it, right? Third is, it's important to keep things fresh. Now, I give a thank you card to Dr. Bhatia today. He'll love it, right? I give him another thank you card tomorrow. He'll love it. I keep doing this for 30 days. He'll be like, what the hell is wrong with you? So it's important to keep it fresh. It's important to keep changing those gestures which we're doing. And how do we do that? You can utilize, there's so many festivals which happen throughout the year. You can create festivals, you can create recognition programs on Chinese New Year, for example. Different sorts of recognition programs. A different program during Christmas, a different program during New Year's. So in different ways, you're changing the same thing and saying the same thing in 20 different ways, which keeps it fresh. And that's how people do it in marriages, right? So you keep doing different gestures every year to keep it fresh in your weddings and marriages as well. Lastly, as an HR, it is important to also recognize ourselves. If we are not using our own programs, how can we expect other people to use it? Lastly, how do you identify if your programs are working? So analytics or reporting is really, really important when it comes to driving a good recognition program. So analytics, I talk about 3 really important analytics programs. One is budget utilization needs to be at least 95%, period. Redemption, if you're giving rewards to employees, usage of those rewards should at least be 90%. Period. There is no number below this which should be acceptable to anybody across the world. If somebody comes and tells you 60% utilization is great, they're lying, don't believe that. 90 to 95% needs to be your benchmarking in driving a successful analytics or successful recognition program that can be analyzed in the right way. And third, and this is my favorite, you should take feedback about your programs in exit interviews of employees. When an employee is leaving and it's their last day and you're talking to them how your experience has been, they will tell the truth. They will not make up things, they will not try to sugarcoat things on top of it, they will tell you the real things which are going on in the organization. So utilize this as an opportunity to identify if people really care about these programs or they're just farces which we've created and nobody likes them anyway. Lastly, in terms of total rewards, and we're talking about hybrid culture today, there are a lot of talks which are happening around it, how the world has changed. And what has changed is all the aspect of physical rewards. Maybe you call 20 people together, you clap and you give them a physical trophy. It's great in conferences, but it's really hard to bring a lot of people in the organization together in one office at the same time, today. So all the physical aspects have moved away and being replaced by digital rewards, digital certificates, digital awards, and you can also utilize automation to your benefit. You don't have to create those birthday Excels anymore. You can just automate them. Because if I'm responsible of wishing everybody a happy birthday, who's going to wish them if I'm on leave, right? And the person whose birthday gets missed will never forget it. They will always remember that my birthday was missed. I don't care if the person in HR had COVID. That person should have sent me a happy birthday email, right? So automate it and reduce all that hassle on your end. So that's pretty much it of my time today. Like I said, I'm Smiti, I'm the founder of Advantage Club, and we have a booth here. So if you need to talk about recognition, strategies, engagement, experience, anything, we're not going to sell to you. So you just come and chat. We'd love to discuss how you're approaching employee experience in your companies and maybe share a few 2 cents with each other around how we can drive a better employee experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Please stay there. You spoke of recognition. I've always wondered, many of my American friends, they say there are 100 ways to recognize and motivate employees. So I tell them start. The first 10 have lots of energy. The balance 90 I find, they get monotonous and the energy drips. It just struck to me while you were presenting, because I always think what to do. So I think we should write a book, you and I. The book should be on experiences. And we should release it at a conference called the World Happiness Congress. Yeah? You love me or you love the idea?
Both. I love you more.
All right. Thank you. So, if any one of you, I'm a great believer that experience is the best teacher. And whatever we go through as an experience in life helps and builds our destiny and our character. So if you have any experiences that you want to share, I keep doing a lot of innovative work. So if you Google search me, you will get a little of 400,000 plus pages showing you what I do. There is this very high time need to write a book on rewards and recognition. So I'm actually proposing to you, not kneeling down, to tell you that we could write this book and be a brilliant idea to release it. I'm going to invite 100 happy companies in February from across the globe. Just 100. I'll lock the door once those 100 are in. You and I will talk to them what makes them happy. Sounds good? Okay. Now, but before I send you, say thank you to you, please accept this as a token of my appreciation, and please wear it, because it's got very special significance of Durga Puja, which you are doing.